Ghada Sawalmah. Welcome to Watch Her by Watchbox.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. It's exciting.
We're equally excited to have you here. Some attention to the beautiful watch that you're wearing. You're wearing a DB Thun DB28, which is a rare watch. It's an exceptional watch, and it's an independent brand, very much like your personality.
Thank you.
So to begin with, we're going to start with your childhood. في عصفورة صغيرة خبرتنا إنه من وقت ما أنت كنت طفلة كنت مديرة. هل هيدا الشيء صحيح؟
Hey, صراحة I remember my mother used to tell me that at school, teachers used to say that I have leadership qualities.
Okay.
But the boys and students used to call me bossy, but especially the boys.
Okay.
But you know, it's just it's a different mentality. If I was a boy, it would have been considered leadership, I guess. But everybody always used to say that, and I think it just came innately. It is, you are born a leader. You're not made into a leader.
Okay.
And I think it came from my mom, to be honest.
How did you feel when, like, your classmates were calling you bossy? Like, did you feel like you need to tone it down and to sort of fit into the box that they were trying to put you in?
No, I never fit into any box.
Okay.
People shouldn't be in boxes. They should be themselves. Boxes are boring.
Okay.
Yeah.
Exactly. You should sort of pursue whatever is your calling.
Yeah, agreed.
Speaking of your calling, you head Gargash hospitals, and you've been working in the medical field for a while. What drew you to that field? Like, what was the calling there?
We come from a background of medical. Like, my mom is a doctor, my father's a doctor, my mother is the first female gynecologist and IVF specialist in the UAE. And there was always, it's a humanitarian thing, right? So we've always had that, there's an ethical and community responsibility that humans should have with one another. But the way that we could do it, or I saw myself doing it, because I tried the corporate world and it didn't fit for me at all, was going through healthcare. And that's why I work, I'm heading now Gargash Hospital. And before that, I was working in Sharjah with Dr. Husniya Gargash Fertility Gynecology and Obstetric Center. So it's just, it's a calling, you know, it's a responsibility and a calling.
So your mother was definitely very supportive of you.
My mom is my rock. My mom is my everything.
Tell me about your mom.
She's a very strong woman. She's a workaholic.
Okay. I see where you get that from.
Yeah, she's a workaholic, but she always had time for us. Time management was key. And I learned all of that from her. In fact, now she says that I'm better than her at that, which I find is a massive compliment.
The student has beaten the master.
Yes. So I mean, different aspects, from family life to social life to work life. We work together, and that's the perfect mix for me, because we have our personal life, which already, you know, evolved throughout the years from childhood to now, and now we have our professional life that's just going forward. Alhamdulillah, full blast.
Alhamdulillah. What about your dad? We spoke about your mom, but was your dad always supportive of your dreams and ambitions and your mom's dreams and ambitions, or was he like, oh my God, you ladies need to slow down?
No, my dad was very supportive of my mother, of course, especially considering the time when she became a doctor, and you know, the hours that go into it. It's a 24-hour job. So especially that she was doing gynae and obstetrics, and it's a specialty that you have to care for your patients almost 24/7.
Of course.
I remember her going on call for 24 hours. Sometimes she would stretch it on to 48 hours if necessary.
Yeah.
So my dad was very understanding, because he himself was a doctor and he was working in emergency as well, and he's a general surgeon. So no, that was there. But when it came to his daughter, I think it was a cultural thing where he's like, if I'm a doctor, you're going to be a doctor.
Okay.
And when I told him I was going into business, he was like, no, you know, students that go to business, because he was in his generation, people that went into business apparently were a bit lazier. Yeah. But I was like, yeah, here are my books, try and read them. And he was like, okay, fine. But then it was fine after that. There's a lot of support coming from him now.
So, Ghada, do you have any siblings?
Yes, I have a brother and 2 younger sisters.
Okay, I'm going to fixate on your brother. Did you ever feel when you were growing up that he had more privileges than you, or
100%.
more rights?
Of course, 100%.
Right.
We are an Arab home at the end of the day, in an Arab community. And even though my mom growing up would say, okay, you're the difficult one, because I always wanted the same rights that my brother was getting as I said, my family evolved with time, right? So my mom would always say that, you're being difficult and you're being the difficult one in the family. And it's because I would always demand for the same rights that my brother had. And it never got into my head as to why he is different. Why is it that he gets, for example, 2 hours extra out when I had to be home by 6 p.m.? At the time, there was frustration, there was irritation, there was all of the shins that you can think about. I guess, you mature with time, you mature with age. And then also my brother realized that with those privileges, it was because it was preparing him for more responsibility, which already I had taken on. And that's when the family realized, okay, fine, maybe we're being a bit too tough. Let's back down a bit from Ghada and let her shine a bit.
I had like a similar situation. My father used to always say, well, you live in my house, you follow my rules.
No, if you want to be a good girl, you want to be a part of society, then you follow the rules. What's the society got to do with what's happening in the household?
Yeah.
I never registered 100%. Like even in today, I doesn't register. Some of the things just don't register.
Absolutely.
Doesn't make sense. It doesn't register.
One of like the worst lines for me to hear is when people say, "What will people think?" or "What will people say?"
People don't care.
And that's
I'm not
horrible.
the Kardashian. You ain't keeping up with me. So no.
Beautifully said. Okay, you are currently pregnant, mashallah, mabruk.
Alhamdulillah, mashallah.
So if your baby was a boy or if your baby is a girl, what would you do differently? Would you raise them differently?
No, definitely not. I mean, I believe in equal opportunities for both, for whatever the gender of the baby is. If I'm saying that I couldn't understand, I couldn't register, I don't think my child of this generation will understand or register. So it's not fair for me to enforce certain ideologies that I don't believe in. The only thing that I can raise is a healthy, independent pillar of society. That's the only thing that I can think about, male or female. So it's never crossed my mind that I would raise them differently. I'm going to make them all doctors, though. They're all going to work in the hospital.
We need doctors right now, so it's a good call. Ghada, you are wearing a beautiful Chopard Imperial chronograph, which is a lovely feminine watch, but it also has the additional functionality of being a chronograph. So I am going to emphasize the feminine aspect of your personality.
Awesome.
You are the CEO of Gargash Hospitals, and we live in a world where there aren't that many female CEOs in the medical field or in other industries.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is the case?
From my personal experience, the CEO club tends to be a boys' club, and I think it's because of the prejudices that were existing before in society. I myself am the youngest female CEO in the healthcare sector in the UAE. It is a challenge. But I don't think in the UAE you see much opposition to it. And I think maybe it's because I got it easy because I'm in the healthcare sector. Kickback basically on me being a female in CEO in the industries. And I think that's because I'm lucky that it's in healthcare. But also you have to demand the respect and you have to be able to be one of the boys or be with the boys. So far, it's been fine. The reason why maybe I see that there aren't that many female CEOs is it's difficult because it is a day-to-day thing, and sometimes it can eat at you. You do end up going home at the beginning sometimes and just go like, God, why was it so difficult today? If I was a man, you find yourself saying a sentence, if I was a man, but then you have to hold yourself back and say, no, but I am who I am today because of the fact that I have the differences which pertain to me being female.
Do you find that you have to work twice as hard just to prove yourself?
Yes, and I think it's from both angles, from the fact that I'm female and the fact that I'm younger. Mm-hmm. And there is this prejudice in the community where, okay, she looks pretty, can she do anything? Okay. And you do sense that when you go into certain meetings, but that was at the beginning. I've put my foot down and people know that, I'm not here to play. I'm here to actually do my job and get things done. So the respect has grown, and hopefully, inshallah, it'll grow even further. Like even in our facility, we are 80% of our heads of department are women. So, you have to give them empowerment so they can feel that they're going forward. And I feel that because I have that, team that I've got under me, we just function differently. You know, we can function outside of the box because every woman wants to prove herself in a different way in the entity and in the organization, that we fix things faster than other organizations do. And I know this from other colleagues in other healthcare facilities. So I'm very proud of them, and I'm proud of myself, alhamdulillah.
So that's something that I didn't know. I was aware that 65% of the staff at Gargash hospitals are female, but I didn't know that 80% of the heads of department are female. So is this something that was a personal endeavor of yours, or did it just happen that way?
I think it comes, maybe I have a form of bias within me because I knew that I could do it. I've seen my mother do it. So I said, why should I give the opportunity only to males? And we are focused on mother and child. I mean, we're a general hospital, but we're the only hospital with a fully fledged IVF unit. And we are a hospital that's focusing on mother and child with the general care that goes around it. So it didn't make sense for me, although there are males that are very competent in these specialities, that I would have men in those departments when I can have women. And the funny thing is that most of the women that came in when they were just parts of teams where they were working before. But here I put them as heads of department, and they're really flourishing, you know, because they have a voice. And when they have a voice, they want to prove that, yes, I could do it. All these years, they weren't giving me the opportunity, and now I'm getting the opportunity. So they don't want to disappoint you. And I think that's something that women carry, you know, we don't want to disappoint ourselves and we don't want to disappoint our family. There's always, don't disappoint me, don't disappoint him, don't disappoint her. And we carry that with us. And I've realized that they just support my system better.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah.
No, I mean, absolutely. You're giving them a great opportunity, and it's an opportunity that they're capable of delivering on. So why not?
Exactly.
And that's the thing. Like, I mean, 50% of the human race is female, but that's a 50% that no one is really tapping into properly. So the second you tap into it properly, anything is possible. And
100%.
you're obviously doing that at Gargash hospitals. So
thank you.
Well done. Thumbs up. Okay, we're living during the challenging times of COVID, and you are in the medical field. So I wanted to know, were you involved in any way?
We had the opportunity to postpone our opening to this year, but we decided, no, we're going to go ahead and continue with, after our soft launch with our opening. COVID hit, and we had a fully fledged facility, and we supported the government. Government said they needed our help, and we said absolutely, and they supported us as well with providing us with antivirals, with PPE, with any consumables, sometimes even staffing. So from that perspective, that's where our relationship began. And I think because we were thrown in the middle of it, like, you know, a pandemic, how often do you get thrown into a pandemic? So I feel that that's what gave the government entities as well trust in us. Because I think they must have said, okay, you guys are very new. They even said it to us, actually. You guys are very new. Are you sure? And we're like, yeah, go for it. If we need help, we'll ask you. And I used to get calls until 5 o'clock in the morning. We need an ambulance here. We need this there. And I was just like, absolutely, whatever you need, I'll facilitate it. It was a very interesting time. We kind of recovered in August. Of course, now with the numbers going up again, the whole point is just it's a new norm. And we're going to have to get used to it. From a sterilization perspective, from the patient flow perspective, patient management, and the facility upgrades. So it's been an interesting time. It was a quick learning curve, but we went through it, alhamdulillah.
Because you had to.
We had to, and survival of the fittest, right? Yeah. During that time, to be honest.
I mean, I personally think it's remarkable that, I mean, it's one thing to run a hospital and to head a hospital in regular times, but to do that during a pandemic is like another level of challenge. That's not something your education equips you for. You're just kind of being thrown in the deep end.
You really are thrown in the deep end. And then don't forget, all of our staff were new, and most of them were from out of the country. So they were like, okay, you had to make difficult decisions, whether it came to rotas, whether it came to pay cuts. We didn't give as severe of a pay cut as other entities did. But, you know, still you had to manage them, and there were expectations and all of this. And the only thing we could say is, listen, support us and we will support you in the long run. And alhamdulillah, that's exactly what happened.
Alhamdulillah. You get the chance to work with females who are frontline workers facing the COVID crisis. Tell me a little bit about these women.
To be honest, I have male doctors and female doctors, but they're the ones that took the most responsibility, the female doctors. We have a few doctors that would spend, when we were taking in COVID patients, because for the time being, we're not. So she would spend 2-3 hours inside the ward just to make sure that everybody was fine. And even my gynae, for example, that was internal medicine, my gynae doctor as well, she would go and visit the pregnant patients that were COVID positive and ensure that some of them were 8 months and COVID induces labor.
Okay.
And she would be like, okay, look, if anything happens, we're prepared. This is the situation. This is what's going to happen. And they became negative, and they said, can we come back and deliver with her? Because they felt so happy about what had happened. So it's quite interesting how I saw the women step up. Like I mentioned before, the women are the ones that had something to prove. So I'm very proud of them, very proud of my team. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah,
male and female, but mashallah, the females really stepped up.
Yeah, knock on wood.
Alhamdulillah.
Ghada, you're a very inspirational person. What do you think you represent to young women?
I hope I represent what you could be and even what you could go beyond and aspire to be. I still haven't reached my full potential. I know there's so much more coming my way. And the only thing that I can hope that I would aspire in other women is that they would want to take on responsibility. They would want to have that recognition. They would want to have that power that comes. It's intoxicating to have that kind of responsibility and power and stance in community and in your own life and in your personal life. So for me, I would also want my daughter to aspire for the same thing, just like I aspire for the same thing when I look at my mother.
Yeah.
So you're just always evolving. There's no one thing that a person can aspire to be, but greatness is always a good thing.
Yes, absolutely. Is there something in your past that you would like to change or do differently? Any learnings?
No, never. You should never think, what if? If you're doing something and you think you're going to think, what if, something's going wrong.
Ghada, what are your dreams? What do you aspire for?
I guess dreams keep changing even when we sleep, right? So I don't know tomorrow what it holds, but I'm just excited to see what happens.
Yeah, I totally understand. You're someone who's evolving on a daily basis, and your
Yeah,
dreams are going to
exactly.
evolve with you. As long as you don't stop, I think that's the key
100%.
thing.
You should
as
never
long
stop.
as you keep the momentum going.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. So the last question is about time, because you did come in with 2 beautiful watches. Is time your friend or is time your enemy?
I think time's my friend, to be honest. You'd think time is your enemy when you have regrets because you go, oh, I wish I had more time to do that. I wish I had more time to do this. And no, everything happens for a reason. And everything, the time and place that things have happened in my life are what contributed or are contributing to what's going on in my life. So I think time's my buddy and I'm okay with him.
That's great. Ghada, thank you so much. It was a real delight to have you with us.
Thank you very
And just
much.
keep being you, keep doing your thing. You make us
Inshallah.
all proud.
Thank you.